Today on the Worldview Bros, we bring to a conclusion our question on human nature. We will provide our final thoughts. We also have our top 5, our hates and our likes, all coming up on the Worldview Bros.
Good morning, and welcome to the Worldview Bros. We've been so excited the last 2 weeks or so, just getting started, and it's been amazing seeing the support from our viewers, our supporters, all over, and it's been quite a trip already. We have so much in store for you. We have our top 5, we have our hate and like, we have fun game, and we're also we're bringing our human nature series to a close. I am Sal, and this is my brother Jim, a.k.a. Slippin' Jimmy, a.k.a. Jimmy Cocoa Puff, a.k.a. Jumbo Jim. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm excited. I mean, like you said, it's been amazing these last few weeks, and we love the feedback that we've been getting. On that note, I just wanted to say, I just want us to remember, this is a show about big questions. And, some of the feedback I also got was like, well, I mean, we're a little tough on these postmodern philosophers. Like,
yeah.
Why are you so certain about your opinions and stuff like that?
Right.
And no, that's absolutely fair. I mean, I just want to emphasize, this is a show about big questions. We're trying to build a community where we can come together and ask the toughest questions. What's the meaning of life? Is there, does God exist? Does God not exist? I mean, all of these fundamental questions. All the questions that we're supposed to not talk about, right? Like, what do people say? You're not allowed to talk about religion and politics, right?
Yeah.
But why is that even a thing? These are the important questions in life, and we do need a space to be able to discuss them. And that's part of why we're doing this. We kind of wanted an outlet where we could discuss these things. That being said, of course, we welcome, guys, disagreement. If you disagree with us, please let us know. Send us an email. You know what? We believe in human nature. Therefore, even people who disagree with us, we believe that you are a precious human being, and we want to hear your opinions, and we want to be able to even change our mind a little bit, So we'll try to change your mind. You try to change our mind. That's the philosophical discussion. That's what this show is about.
Yeah. And again, like you're saying, we believe in having a discussion. We don't believe in showing malice in any way, we're not going to ever show any, and if we do, then it's not intentional. We're not trying. I mean, we're not ever going to show any kind of malice or just look down on people, and we hope and we want the same respect as well. So if you disagree with us and you leave a comment, let it be something that's just positive, so we can have a conversation, we can address those things, and talk further if we need to on it, right?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Awesome.
All right, so Sal, why don't you start? Tell us, what are your final thoughts then on this question?
So a couple final thoughts I had. We talked about human nature, and we talked a little bit about relativism, and we talked about truth and seeking truth and being a good person, And so I had a few questions I wanted to bring up. So what does it look like to follow the natural law? You know, what does it look like to follow the ought? How should I ought, you know?
Right.
Or what should I do? You know, I talked about how it's controversial when you start asking the question, what should it be? You know, so a couple questions are, just be a good person. Is that how you follow natural law? Or do I read my Bible every day if I'm a Christian? Or do I make sure that my good outweighs the bad? Or, you know, what does it look like, right? Another question, if you feel bad after you did something, then you just not do it again, right? You start to wonder, like, how do I live this natural law, right? How am I aware of it? And so one of the things I came to a conclusion, I guess, is to differentiate the what versus the who, you know? And I think with human nature, you need to kind of find out who am I following? What's the authority in my life? And rather than what, because you start thinking of the what. We're a consumer. We're living in a consumer world. You know, you start taking, this is what I want. This is what I dream. This is how I want to live this is what I want in my life to make it better, right? And you start living the what, and the who is kind of like in the backside, and you end up becoming your own God, like we talked about, right? Does this make sense to you?
No, I see.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I think, let me put it this way. If there's a certain nature to our being, and I think it's ultimately, like we discussed last show, is that there's this law written in our hearts.
Yeah.
That we know this natural moral code, right?
Exactly.
We don't believe that morality is simply whatever we make of it. We think that there's a very real aspect to it, right? And look, a quick thought experiment about this is, let's imagine that there's a society, let's say in our country, for instance, that by some chance everybody votes, a year from now, that, oh no, actually slavery was an excellent idea. We should totally get back into that.
Yeah.
And let's say for whatever odd reason, like everybody was convinced by some kind of a very influential person. Okay, call him like Hitler too or whatever. Okay, and if he convinces like most people, and let's say you're the only person left that believes, whoa, like everybody voted for this, and like they're bringing slavery back, and I'm the only person left who thinks that that's wrong. How should I take that? Is that person correct in believing that that's still wrong? Or is he wrong in believing that that's wrong because the vast majority of people were on board? Yeah. So I would suggest, I think we all find that it's obvious that, of course, that's wrong. And we know that because we know that intrinsically. We know that that is written in our soul, in our consciousness. We know right from wrong. It is kind of, we are able to perceive it. And the point that I think we're both on board with is that didn't just come up by accident, but it is something that previously exists.
Yeah. So another thought I wanted to close was also just kind of the discussion we had about neo-Darwinism and how our existence, our human nature, is kind of left up to chance, right? And so I have a quote I wanted to read from Joseph Ratzinger and from his book The Beginning. So here I'm going to read it. Try not to stumble through it, but it's a beautiful quote. We must have the audacity to say that the great projects of the living creation are not the products of chance and error, nor are they the products of a selective process to which divine predicates can be attributed in illogical, unscientific, and even mythic fashion. The great projects of the living creation point to a creating reason and show us a creating intelligence, and they do so more luminously and radiantly today than ever before. Thus we can say today, with a new certitude and joyousness, that the human being is indeed a divine project which only the creating intelligence was strong and great and audacious enough to conceive of. Human beings are not a mistake, but something willed. They are a fruit of love. They can disclose in themselves and the bold project that they are the language of the creating intelligence that speaks to them and that moves them to say, "Yes, Father, you have willed me." Man, isn't that incredible? I think that's so cool. And I read this to kind of give that closing as far as, what we think or what I think on this, and how we are not made by chance. The way we are willed. That word willed. We have the will to do great things as humans because it's in our nature. And that points to this intelligence. We are, without being weird about it, like we are superior in the sense to this world because we're made for more. We're made to go beyond. And it's written in our DNA. It's written in our nature, our human nature.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I'm going to get to that a little bit later. To me, and I want to say more about this, but that takeaway right there, you are not a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
You were made because you were loved.
Yeah.
You were made in love, not in chance.
Uh-huh.
Dude, that's the one takeaway.
Yeah.
Right? But I'll get to that. I want to say a little bit more about that
Yeah.
in a minute. But
Definitely. Yeah.
let's do our game.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Let's do our game. So we're going to go into...
What you got?
So, lots of times in life, things happen. You notice things. You notice it, I think, with comedians a lot. This is probably how they... I don't know, maybe this is how they come up with their content or jokes. And it is... Have you ever wondered why? I wonder why. Ask
Sort
that
of
question.
like observational kind of comedy.
Yeah. Like, I wonder why people say this or people think this. And so we're just going to ask and talk about I wonder why questions kind of out there. So a couple of these I want to list that I think are kind of funny is, so if you can't drink and drive, why do you think a driver's license to buy liquor? Oh, why do you need a driver's license to buy liquor? I wonder why. A couple other ones.
No, you should bring your passport or something.
Yeah.
That's more. It seems more appropriate.
Okay, another one. This one drives me crazy. I thought of this one. This was on my own. I wonder why people have this idea or this thought that they need to turn down the music when they're looking for something in the car. An address, or they're looking for something, all of a sudden it's, turn down the... My wife does this all the time. I'm like, why do you have to turn it down? We can still find the address with the music going. I wonder why.
Yeah, I mean, I think I do that. It's like a concentration thing.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Mm-hmm. A couple other ones. Why is it called a TV set when you only get one? I know. Some of these are really weird, okay? Let's see, what else? What do I have here? Why does an alarm clock go off when it begins ringing?
Oh, instead of on.
Yeah. Why does your alarm clock go off? Okay. Let's see. What's another one here? If 7-Eleven is open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, why are there locks on the door? That one made me laugh a lot. Let's see. Another one I had. Another one is my own that I thought too. When people say, this one's kind of a stretch.
Okay.
But when people say, "How are you?" the responses should be, "I'm doing well. Thank you for asking." Mm-hmm. But I do this all the time. Maybe I'm mentioning this because I do it all the time. When you ask me, especially at work, and I just feel awkward because I go, someone asks me, "How are you doing?" I say, "I'm doing great. Thank you." That makes no sense.
Wait, why not?
It doesn't. I'm doing well, thank you. Like, it should. I should say I'm missing. Thank you for asking, because I'm just saying I'm doing well. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for that question.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks for asking that. Oh, I guess that makes sense.
Okay.
I don't know. To me, it just makes sense. I'm doing well. Thanks.
Well, for me, the weird thing about that, like when you're asked, "How are you doing?" Like, we all know grammatically we're supposed to say, "Oh, I'm doing very well," instead of saying "I'm good," or we know it's grammatically incorrect to say "I'm good."
Yeah.
But then it sounds like pretentious to say "I'm well." I'm just so well. Come on, just say
Some
I'm good.
people get mad about that.
Yeah, I know.
It's like a big deal.
I find it awkward when people say I'm well, because you know that they had to make a thought process like, oh, I'm not going to say I'm good, I'm going to say I'm well, because
Yeah.
I'm going to speak properly.
Yeah, but those are some of the ones I thought were
Okay.
pretty good.
Well-
I could probably come up with more good ones, but definitely the turning down the music at any point when you it's like all of a sudden, oh, I'm trying to figure this out. Let's turn down the music.
Right. Okay,
Drives
so
me nuts.
so you asked me to consider one of these questions, and I think I probably took it a little bit differently.
Oh,
Like,
that's good. That's fine.
No, like what I thought is I wonder why, and I don't want to be like disrespectful to God, okay?
Yeah.
Because the human body is like a marvelous thing, right? And our brain and everything, like
Yeah.
it's spectacular, right? But I've always wondered, like, teeth, dude. Like, you know, we have kind of
That's
bad
a good
teeth.
one. I like this.
Like
I know
went
where this is going.
I went to the dentist this
Uh-huh.
week, and they had to redo some of my fillings. And look, dude, I brush every day and I floss every day, like diligently. But apparently we grind our teeth a lot in our family at night. And I tried doing anyway. Long story, but the point is, I wonder why our teeth are the way they are. Like, why do we have to have nerve endings in our teeth? So I have this fantasy that if again, no disrespect, God, but like if I were God, I would make people's teeth out of like titanium, like, and call it a day. Like, I mean, why not? Just make your teeth out of titanium, okay?
Yeah, if they have to be white, then find a way to make the titanium white.
Yeah, yeah, or maybe we get used to it, right? But like no nerve endings or anything, and just chomp away, dude. Like, I want to be able to chomp without fear. But no, like, I spend like half my life in the dentist's office.
And half your morning is flossing your teeth, I'm sure.
Yeah. So that's one thing, I want to ask God about in heaven.
No, yeah, I hate that's a great one.
Okay.
I wonder why. Leave some comments. Tell us what your wonder whys are, and maybe even your thoughts on our I wonder why. So why don't you get into your last thoughts for us?
Right, yeah. Let me try to be kind of brief, but I think I want to start with an amazing clip from MLK. I really love MLK. He's probably most famous for his I Have a Dream speech, which I love. And but to try to get into his philosophy a little bit more, I think a good clip for us to listen to is his acceptance speech of the Nobel Peace Prize. Let's take a listen, and then we'll comment a little bit on it.
I accept this award today with an abiding faith in America and an audacious faith in the future of mankind. I refuse to accept despair as the final response to the ambiguities of history. I refuse to accept the idea that the isness of man's present nature makes him morally incapable of reaching up for the eternal oughtness that forever confronts him. I refuse to accept the idea that man is mere flotsam and jetsam in the river of life, unable to influence the unfolding events which surround him. I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism and war that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality. I refuse to accept the cynical notion that nation after nation must spiral down a militaristic stairway into the hell of nuclear annihilation. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. This is why right temporarily defeated is stronger than evil triumphant.
Right. So, I mean, what do you think of that? That's just an amazing part of his speech. And think about it. Those are the themes that we've been discussing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look at what he says. I refuse to accept the idea that the isness of man's present nature makes him morally incapable of reaching out to the eternal oughtness that confronts him. Okay? He says he refuses to believe that mankind is mere flotsam and jetsam and like the stream of history, okay? And that we are unable to influence events in the world, right?
Yeah.
What he is talking about, he's exactly talking about post-modernity. He's saying, like, remember what we were saying about the caves, right?
Yeah.
The predominant view in philosophy today is that there is no outside to the cave. That, like, insofar as there's this cave, it's just this reality that we make of ourselves, right? Nothing can kind of take us away from this. There's no actual reality on the outside. There's no truth. There's no inherent truth that guides events or moral decisions that we make, right? We're just along for the ride. And, but no, he think about like what this has to do also with his other speeches. Like, how is it that we can reach out and say that all human beings are in fact equal in their dignity? Okay, if it's not the case that we share this human nature, right? That's really the core of his philosophy. MLK is a classical thinker. He's a classical philosopher.
Yeah. The fact that he's standing where he is, giving this speech.
Right.
I mean, it's very clear that there's this common goal, this common way of thinking of that's part of our nature, you know, and these ideas that he's bringing out.
Right.
You know, otherwise he'd be completely cast aside. Completely. I mean, obviously it's still. I mean, it's a fight that's going on, you know, but it's just really incredible that he was able to be on that platform and impact the way he did. You know, it's cool to celebrate him too, and just the way he talks.
Yeah.
And the way he talks, and I love that. I refuse to believe that. I refuse to think so and so. Right.
Right.
And I think it's a great mindset to have.
Yeah.
You know, especially when you're contemplating these questions.
No, and that's the question. Like, why does he refuse this philosophy? Well, I think there are two reasons. One reason is because he kind of sees that it's false. I think we inherently see that this idea that that there's no true reality to these moral questions. He refuses to believe that on the basis that he doesn't see it as true.
Yeah.
Now, also, we should refuse it on the basis of the outcomes that it would have. Okay?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. If we take the postmodern view, I think that it's going to lead us down dark paths. Okay? And I think there are macro effects, and I think there are micro effects to believing that there's no truth to moral questions and that they're just relative. It'll lead us to bad paths at the macro level and at the micro level.
Yeah.
So at the macro level, I would say ultimately we see this in the world wars, like I said before. Okay, if there's no common human nature that we can all appeal to, that means that every society, every set of rules that they would have, the way that they establish their regime, is ultimately just conventional, not based on anything. So you can't even say, oh, well, that's wrong or that's right.
Right.
Okay?
Exactly.
And so you're left with this Nietzschean will to power. Okay, you're left with a Nietzschean will to power, and that's absolutely
The strongest is going to win, and that's it.
And that is the
truth,
philosophical.
and
That's the philosophical background of the Third Reich. That's the philosophical background of Nazism. Okay.
Yeah.
And also at the macro level, we even say that we're not living in that reality. Okay, that we have a more laid back kind of postmodernism. Then it's a battle not so much with arms, but it becomes a battle of language. Like we said before with Rorty. Rorty, the way he sees reality is that any arguments that you can make you're not trying to appeal to a person's reason, trying to reach in to grab hold of that light that's outside of the cave. But language simply becomes an art form of presenting the best case, just to make it pleasing in some sense, to try to convince people to come into your way of viewing things. It's still essentially like a warfare. It's like a warfare of ideas. Yeah. And that's actually what we see in our current day politics, okay? Like, we're so, in many respects, this was not the case in the past, that we are so to the extremes. Like, the Republicans do not trust the Democrats don't trust the Republicans. It's difficult for them to come together in many ways. And I think a lot of it is because of this permeating idea that the arguments that we make are kind of like weaponry.
Yeah.
Like, if we don't believe in a true human nature, then how can we reach towards each other? How can we try to appeal to one another's core beliefs?
Yeah.
Where like if a particular party were to make any concessions, like they're viewed as a fool. You just kind of take over. So again, at this macro level, leads to a kind of politics that is very much maybe like a warfare, maybe not of arms, but it just this warfare of ideas, where you just can't you can't trust each other. If there's no true human nature, how can we trust anybody?
Yeah.
Ultimately, it becomes a free-for-all.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to, I had mentioned, like, having this authority in your life. And quickly we know that if you don't have an authority in your life, you just kind of go.
Yeah.
And there's no really balance to your life and the decisions you make. And of course, it's got to be an authority that is not based on that thought of just the will to power, right?
Yep, absolutely.
But yeah, it's having that authority that's grounded in absolute truth.
Yep.
In that truth that follows the human nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I also think, kind of like on the micro level, try to think, what does it do to a human's to a person's psyche to believe that they are a cosmic accident? What does it do to you psychologically to believe that you're just that you're just an accident? Just random molecules came together and made this human being.
Yeah.
And so that already is problematic psychologically. Then moreover, you will hear from society. Again, I think these ideas are in the stream of culture. That, all cultures are different, and you can't make these distinctions about what are better ways to think about things, what are worse ways to think about things. Yeah. Everything's relative. Oh, but by the way, make sure you don't do this and this and this and this. Yeah. Like, nobody can actually live in this relativistic way. The reality is nobody lives that way. Even people who say that, it's all relative, they will always criticize you if you do something wrong in their view, right? Everybody holds to a worldview. Everybody holds to a moral code, okay? So it's this kind of a schizophrenic thing that can happen in your brain to think that, to try to have that both ways.
Right.
So you're at war with yourself.
Yeah.
If you believe that there's nothing true about this, but then your own soul kind of goes back at you and tells you, no, you're wrong, and you have this conflict. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this is a leap or anything, but the rise in depression that we see year after year after year, I think a lot of it is because we need to pay attention to our philosophy. Yeah. We need to pay attention to our worldviews. And if there's sort of disconnects there, it kind of messes with us a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's such a good point, because I think you start to see your brokenness. You start to see that you don't have a really clear vision of happiness. Like, we're going to get into happiness in the future. We don't see this clear path to kind of like what Ratzinger is saying, this joyousness, this radiant way of living, and you start, like I said, you start to see your brokenness, and you don't know what to do with that, you know, and I mean, because we're very flawed people,
Yes.
you know, and I can't imagine not having that direction.
Right,
you know?
right. No, look, can we do just one final thing on this?
Yeah.
So, last thing, I just wanted to show this quote from John Piper. We had discussed before how we believe that ultimately human nature is being made in the image and likeness of God, right?
Yeah.
And so what he says about that, he says that being made in the image of God essentially means like that we are, we give his image. It's kind of like if you were to make a little statue of yourself
Mm-hmm.
and you put it in different places. That statue kind of represents you in some way.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a reminder to anybody who sees that statue. Oh, hey, that's Jim. That's what he's like, you know. That's Sal, this ugly little statue. Okay. So that's who we are as God's children. We are made in His image. It means that we represent Him. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so that everything that we do is essentially for His glory. Like if we do something good, we are showing forth what goodness is.
Yeah.
Right. And where does goodness come from? It comes from an intelligence. It comes from the Creator of all things. It comes from being itself.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Being is also what is good. Is also what is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So insofar as we do what is good, right, we are kind of glorifying Him.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what will happen is that if we don't live in that way. So Piper's imagery of this is he says that we all have like a mirror. We all have this mirror, and the way that we live our lives is we kind of hold the mirror at like a 45-degree angle, so that when the sunlight comes in, it kind of bounces off at 45 degrees, so that it makes a 90-degree angle, and so you're showing forth His goodness to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Right. But if you don't have this perspective that you're living for the sake of what is good, that you're not living for the sake of the goodness of the universe, that you're not living for the sake of the source of all goodness and all being.
The who.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
If you live in this postmodern idea that you bring the meaning from yourself, then all your life is just coming out from you. Okay? So what does that look like? So Piper says that looks like, well, actually we've turned the mirror all the way around. And the mirror is just shining on us. And now do you emanate light out of yourself? Does light come out of you? Well, not really. Okay, so at best you kind of have your own reflection. At best you kind of have like a shadow.
Right.
Okay. And we kind of fall in love with that reflection. We fall in love with that shadow because it's like the only reality we know. And that will actually make us very sad. We're just living under this shadow.
Right.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So to be an image of God means that you don't have this inward view, but that you have this outward view. Yeah. You look at the universe and you say, wow, universe, you are beautiful, right? Mm-hmm. And everything that we see that is good, we try to magnify that, we reflect on that. That is not something that came from us. We're trying to participate in something that's outside of us, right? And when we live that way, we live in a more fulfilling way. I mean, tell me if this rings true. When are you the happiest? Because to me, it's like, I've given this example before, like finding the perfect Christmas gift for mom, dude.
Yeah.
Finding the perfect Christmas gift for mom.
Yeah.
And giving it to her, or like sharing a meal,
That's
like
great.
making a meal for someone, like an outstanding meal, and you give it to everybody, and they love it and they like it, right?
Uh-huh.
Dude, that's like living outwards,
Yeah.
right? Trying to show goodness to others.
Putting others before yourself, like
Yes.
we talked about earlier.
Right, and that's that reflective process.
Exactly.
Recognizing what is good and reflecting it to the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we're living to that authority that we're given.
Yeah.
To the authority that we're given over the world is to establish goodness in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Not as an idea that emanates from us, but as an idea that we are able to recognize. We're able to recognize what is good and to put it forth in the world. That's our duty. That's what we're made for. That's what gives us fulfillment,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's at the core of human nature, is that we are able to recognize what is good, and that we see the demand that we have to promote that good in the world,
Mm-hmm.
to recognize that it comes from one source, and to glorify and magnify that source. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
What do you think? I think that's kind of the way I look at it.
No, definitely.
So-
And I think, again, like that quote, you know, the Ratzinger quote, paired with the mirror,
Mm.
it's just it's a great it's just a really good way of thinking about what my purpose is in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And having that direction.
Mm.
You know, and finding that joyousness and being able to say, yes, Father, you have willed me,
Mm.
you know, and in that, since the Father has willed us and we're made in His image,
Right.
I mean, He's a selfless God. It's all about, you know, service, you know, and it's all about being able to put yourself, put yourself, or put others before yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and again, I want to just say that we're not. These are our ideas. These are our. This is what we believe. You know, and these are things we want to talk about, and we want to have a discussion. You know, we don't want it. If you don't believe this, we're not condemning. We're not. We're not wanting to show malice or in any way, or you know, you're not a Nazi. We're not saying you're a Nazi if you believe in
No.
in that. But I think we're just trying to put out what those ideas and contrasting them. You know,
Absolutely. No, good.
Yeah.
So we'll see what other ideas and what comments we get from
Yeah,
this, and we'll make
comment.
sure to address them, and we'll try to answer those in future shows.
Definitely.
So-
Yeah, leave us a comment, and just again tell us what you think. Yeah,
All
let's
right.
get into our top 5.
All right.
All right, so I'm doing the top 5 this week, and it is the top 5 NBA Big Threes. So it's a sports related. If you want to tune out and hear that and you don't like sports, that's fine. But I'm a huge NBA fan. I love basketball. I thought it'd be fun. I want to have fun with it, and so here we go. And when I say NBA Big Threes, for those of you who are listening and don't really know, in the history of the sport, in the NBA specifically, we have seen a lot of great super teams. We've seen a lot of great duos, or just great players that have just elevated these teams. You think of the 90s Bulls teams, you got Scotty and Michael, you know, or Michael and Scotty, I should say. And you have the eras of Magic and Bird in the 80s, and you have in the 70s Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And so I have a couple honorable mentions that I'll name after, but let's start with. I'm going to start with number 5. I'm always awkward when it comes to number 5. Number 5 meaning the least, like every time, obviously. Yeah. So number 5. This is controversial, but my top 5 here are going to be. They're all contemporary things I have seen, obviously, and I'll get into that with my honorable mentions. But this one's one that didn't work, but it was created, and there was so much hype, and I was so excited. I'm not even a Lakers fan. I'm a diehard Mavs fan. Mm-hmm. But it is Steve Nash, Kobe Bryant, and Dwight Howard. Mm-hmm. So this was in the summer going into the 2012 season, and this Big Three formed. Nash was kind of getting older. He was coming off an injury, but you know, he was still prominent. You know. Yeah. And he had that 2010 Suns team that was amazing. Just didn't make it. You know, it's hard with that Kobe Lakers. Yeah. And then Kobe Bryant was still producing. You know, he got bounced in 2011. Got swept by the Mavericks. So 2012 he wanted to really hit the ground running and try to compete again. And then Dwight Howard was just coming off of that. I mean. He was in the finals in 2010. I mean, he was in his prime, doing awesome. that three came together. Nash was hurt. Dwight Howard and Kobe Bryant just didn't work out.
I mean, Kobe was kind of old at that point too, right?
But still, I mean, like he had just been competing. I mean, he had won in 2009, 2010.
Yeah.
2012. I mean, he could still compete. He ended up getting hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he had his Achilles tear
and
all that stuff. But the chemistry between Kobe and Howard was just not good. I mean, you get this like dopey Howard character who, I mean, and he's bounced around through the league now. And he's just, I don't know, it's just weird. But I remember the hype when this happened. It's like, oh my gosh, these guys are going to win the championship. You know, my Dallas Mavericks, you know, they got split up, and I thought, well, you know, I won't get into that right now, but I was thinking, man, these guys are going to destroy, and it didn't work out. But it's in my top 5 because of how hyped that was, and I love Steve Nash. And I was like, man, this is going to be so great.
I get it. So you have it there just because of the hype.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it was like the potential.
Okay.
Like, what if? It was so great. Next one is Curry, Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. So this is before the Durant era. I could have put Durant in there because I like watching them, but when this is like the 73 and 9 team, you know, that lost in 2016 to the Cleveland Cavaliers. But man, this team was incredible. You know, the 2015 as well. You know, when they won the championship, their first championship. I mean, you had the Splash Brothers, and you had Draymond Green, who was like the best defensive player in the league, just destroying the league, like just taking him by the hand.
73 and 9.
Yeah, they beat the 72 and 10. Yeah, welcome.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so they beat the Bulls. I think 98 Bulls. Is it 98 Bulls? No, 96 Bulls. 96 Bulls.
Yeah.
96, 72 and 10 Bulls. They beat that record, and they lost the title. You know, they were down, or they were up 3-1 and then lost.
Wow.
But I loved that, just watching them, because it was the beginning of this like dynasty of the Warriors, and it was so cool to see these three guys.
Oh, they were just tearing.
Yeah, especially like Draymond Green is not like a scorer, but he was just the defensive prowess.
He was needed.
Yeah. So that 3 is my 4. Number 3 is then the Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen trio. This is when the big 3 really started. You know, I'll get to it with the honorable mention. You have other big 3s that kind of, or big super teams that started, but it wasn't really called a super team or a big 3 until this, because this was very, like, these guys made the choice to come together, and they wanted a championship. They were still in their prime, kind of tail end, but they wanted to compete. You know, and Garnett came, and then Allen came, and Pierce was already there on the Celtics. And they won that title in 2008, and it was incredible. You know, they beat the Lakers, classic Lakers, Celtics. And it was just cool to see. I remember watching that. We were on vacation when our family vacation, when the finals was going on, and watching that was so cool. And they competed. You know, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals in 2010, lost to the next one that I have, which is my number 2. And that is the LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is one of the best teams I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
And it's the team that the Mavericks beat in 2011.
Yeah.
That was cool to see, right? But
of course, this is like the infamously a little too self-confident trio.
Yeah, now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 titles. Oh my gosh,
so
when
annoying.
that was crazy. But I mean, it was an incredible team to watch.
No,
like
that's
that in the battles between San Antonio in 2013 and 14, that was incredible.
No, setting aside arrogance, I mean, you got to respect freaking talent, man.
I mean, yeah, they were just incredible. Like, I miss seeing some of those alley-oops from Dwayne Wade get to LeBron and just jamming.
I love the way Wade moves. You know, like his shot is beautiful, right? I mean,
I have this like this grudge against him, but I do recognize that he's a great player. Yeah. You know, not getting into it too much with 06 finals. You know. Very controversial. But anyways, that's my number 2. Number 1, this is just because I am a diehard Dallas Mavericks fan, and it's the Nowitzki, Nash, and Finley. Again, this is like a pre-big 3, like having that kind of language. But it was, I loved, I mean, I was still an early Mavericks fan. I just started. But I mean, I was so captivated by Nowitzki and Nash and Finley and that pair, and a lot of it was Nash and Nowitzki, that kind of duo. But
Yeah.
Finley's was really great. I think he wasn't given enough credit for that, especially when you would catch him in the outside every now and then. Had a great
that 3-pointer.
great 3-pointer.
It does seem more like a duo to me, actually. I mean, as much as I like Finley.
Yeah, but I mean, like when people talk about those Mavericks teams, they mention Finley. It's that Nowitzki, Nash, Finley going against the Kings, getting bounced a lot, but and then going. I mean, they did go to the conference finals once and had great records. So there's always the what if Nash left. What if he would have stayed?
Yeah.
But anyways, that's my top 5 honorable mentions. Obviously, like the teams I didn't watch. You could arguably say that you have the Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, James Worthy trio there, with Pat Riley winning championships in the 80s.
I don't know who Worthy is.
Yeah, James Worthy. Yeah.
I think that proves the point.
Yeah,
there are a lot of duos. Like I was wondering, hey, what about Jordan, Pippen, Horace Grant?
It would. If anything, it would be, if you wanted to say a big 3, it would be Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and Dennis Rodman. In the second run of the 3 championships.
But you think Rodman is that crucial that he makes like a third?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh totally. I didn't watch them, but I mean, you watched them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you felt that way, but it was.
His rebounds were insane. Like he's master rebounder.
Yeah.
So I guess that counts for.
I think the rebounds. He was a very intense player.
That's true. Yeah. His energy. Mm-hmm.
And I know Jordan liked him.
Yeah.
Jordan liked him because his Piston days, and Jordan just like fighting against those Pistons.
Yeah. No, right. Like Rodman is the epitome of a defensive player. Like he's not worth anything offensively.
I mean, that's why he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He's a Hall of Famer because he just redefined that defensive position.
Yeah. That should be on your list, dude.
Yeah, I don't know. I went. Honestly, I would probably take out the Nash, Kobe, Howard and put that in.
Okay.
But I didn't see those play.
Right.
I didn't see that. I didn't live that. I can talk a lot about it because I know the history, because I'm very interested in it. It's a hobby, clearly. But I wanted to put in things that I haven't witnessed and seen, and that's my top 5.
That's fair. That's fair. Very good. All right. Well, almost done. We got hate and like. It's your time to do the hate.
Hate and like. Let's go to hate. Okay. So I have a son. I have a almost 3-year-old. And when we put him down to bed, we have this like playlist that's through Amazon Music, and it's a kids bedtime music playlist. And there's this song on there that is it's awful. It's just dreadful. It is so annoying. I'm so sorry to the person.
I haven't heard it. I'm curious to hear it here.
Yeah. So let me pull it up. Let's see. It's called "Dream Too Much," by Amy Lee, and I just every time it comes on, I'm like, how is this like for bedtime? So let me play just the beginning, and then I'll skip to the rough part.
There's a monkey in the bed, the muffins are sleeping, and the tiger's in the sand. Oh no. Well, the grapes keep
Okay, so I'm gonna skip to the hold on. I'm gonna go ahead and skip to the
chorus.
To the chorus. If I can figure out how to use this thing. See, I'm just gonna annoy everybody. You're going to see how awful this is.
I mean, I'm already convinced, dude.
Yeah.
I'm not digging it.
Wait, no, but it's the next part. Oh, here we go. I know how to. I was trying to figure out how to use Amazon Music. So let's get to the chorus. Here we go. Here it comes. for it.
There's no way you can dream, way you can dream, way you can dream too much.
Is 2 enough?
In dreams,
Well, actually, at the end of the song, she does it like 4 times in a row. And maybe you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, she has a pretty voice. That's not bad.
It's
But
like
when
too
you're-
emotional. She's too into it for a kid's song.
Like, she's got a good voice. She's a singer. She's got a song out. Like, she's good. But it's just like, maybe it's the repetition
It
for
just
me.
sounds like you've heard this too much, dude.
Oh my gosh! But it comes on really loud, and it's just Nicole and I can hear it from our room.
Oh.
There's no way we can dream, we can dream too much. Like the chorus, that's all it is.
Yeah.
And at the end, she does it like 3 or 4 times.
Oh,
so at
no.
that point, you're just
Okay.
like, oh my
I'm tapping out.
gosh. Oof. That's my hate.
Okay, very good. All right, so for stuff I like, my favorite video game. Favorite video game of all time. Now, I actually haven't been gaming for a while. When I was younger, that's all I did.
Yeah.
But no, without a doubt, dude, my favorite video game of all time is Ocarina of Time, which I know
I'm playing right now. I'm
You're
playing it right
playing
now. I'm in the Spirit Temple.
This is the best game. Like, I love it so much. And I mean, I love all Zelda games. I was a Zelda fan before that even came out. So
Yeah.
when it came out, I was really anticipating it.
I remember you buying the 64
Yeah, just
and everything.
because I
Yeah.
wanted to play that game.
Yeah.
So now, of course, Zelda is amazing. Even the very first Zelda for Nintendo, it gives you this the open game concept. Right?
Yeah.
So, like, even in the first Nintendo Zelda, you could go to the final temple and give it a shot, see if you could beat it, but you're free to just kind of explore wherever you go, right? And,
Yeah.
and that's what makes the game so amazing. So Legend of Zelda was great for Nintendo. Adventures of Link also for Nintendo was good, but that was they kind of reverted to like a traditional, just like front view adventure kind of style.
Yeah.
But ultimately, Zelda's famous for the open concept, right?
Yeah.
The one for Super Nintendo was great, but the best definitely is for the 64 system, Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
Like
There's been a lot of or right before Breath of the Wild came out, the latest one. I mean, there was that like adding to the open world concept where you can literally go in any direction and the game will advance.
Yep.
Which is not a little different from the original Zelda. In this sense, you can literally go anywhere and you can advance the game no matter where you go. I think that's how
okay.
Breath of the Wild works.
Well, that's the thing. I've heard a lot about Breath of the Wild, and so that's why I need to get a Switch. I need to get a Switch so I can
Yeah,
play
or
that.
Wii U. It's on Wii U. You can
On
get it for
Wii U. Oh, so
So if you don't want to pay for a Switch, you can get a Wii U and play it.
yeah, it's like $300.
But it's like it's worth maybe getting the Switch because the Switch.
Yeah, I think I
don't know.
will. But
But yeah,
I've heard that it's great. So we'll have to see if Breath of the Wild holds up to Ocarina of Time. Like,
Dude,
just the memories. Obviously, I mean,
Yeah.
typically the games that we love the most are the ones that give us this nostalgia.
yeah.
The
I can think of like I have a lot of memories of watching you
Yeah.
and attempting to play this game,
Uh-huh.
and I just never because I realized now playing it through now. I'm like, yeah, I probably only got through like a quarter of the game, thinking that maybe I played the game fully, but I didn't.
Yeah.
But
Well, anyway, I'm just gonna play. I love going to YouTube and just finding old commercials.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna play this commercial for the game, and so here it is. Okay, so
Oh, that's great.
yeah, no, I like the commercial, but here's what I found out, and I didn't even put it because it's not really in HD.
Yeah.
I guess I'll show it maybe without HD, but I find it hilarious that there's like an older version to that commercial, which I guess they replaced shortly after.
Yeah.
So there at the end, instead of that final question that it says like, will you soar or will you suck? It actually has the question, and at the end, will you get the girl or will you play like one? With like that actually aired, you know, like super.
I know, seriously.
Super politically incorrect, right? I mean, that's insane.
That's probably why they didn't do it. They made the other one.
Yeah. So I think they corrected that one.
Oh my gosh.
You have to admit, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, I can see you saying that. You play ball like a girl. You play Zelda like a girl.
Dang. I don't know.
Oh,
I'm sure there are plenty of girl viewers that play Zelda just fine and better than me. I don't know.
For sure. That's a good like.
Yeah.
Especially since I'm playing it right now, so I can. Yeah.
So, did you already finish the water temple? I know that one's pretty hard.
Yeah. No, I finished the water temple, and then I did the shadow temple. Temple. You know, with the bunny slippers and all that stuff, and then Bongo Bongo.
Yeah.
Bongo Bongo was rough. It took me 2 times.
I think the toughest for me was in fact the water temple, which I think common consensus is that one's pretty.
The
hard.
boss on that one stinks though. It's an awful boss. It's really dumb. I don't know if you can remember, but it's just like it's this little ball that's going around inside there's like a pool, you know, with like platforms, and there's also there's like the outside of it.
Yeah.
You know, and then you're trying to like you grapple hook or whatever the little ball and then slash it.
Right.
But then if you don't do it in time, there's these tentacles, you know.
Yes.
And then they'll slap down and grab you and then throw you.
Yeah, it's great.
And
I love the
boss.
grapple hook. The grapple hook is like my favorite. Like
Uh-huh.
I always have that one loaded. You know. You can kill bats with it. You know.
Yeah, but I like I mean, it's so much easier to kill those kinds of things with the bow and arrow, though.
No, dude.
I don't know.
I always had the grapple hook on all the time.
I guess if you Z target.
Yeah.
You Z target and just hit whatever.
Absolutely.
Like,
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. No, so I'm on the Spirit Temple right now, and I haven't started the Spirit Temple yet, but I arrived to it.
Dang, I have to play it again.
Yeah,
so
you should.
I will.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna live closer to me. That's
Yeah.
you can come over and play it if you want on the Wii.
We'll do it.
Awesome. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. Again, leave your comments. If you disagree, any concerns, bring them up. You know, we'd love to talk about it. And before we go, I want to give some shout outs real quick. Shout out to Sonderlust, Nay Lopez, Unknown Tay, It's Pichu. Let's see, Laura Ortega, Jesus Gonzalez, Sophia Renstra.
Hey, I know her.
Andre 4143, Thomas Washington. Let's see, Maria Lugo, Turn Up Screws, Jonathan #TheGamer. Help me out, Jim, here if you see one that I don't see. Jeff Wolford, Aaron Feisey, yes, Alex Kim, Saketh Sarvapali, Div Cash, Brian Lee, Lisa Leonis.
Yeah, awesome.
Love
Thanks,
you guys.
Thanks.
Thank you for the comments. If you want to shout out, leave a comment. You know, let us know what you think. Again, like, share, subscribe.
And email questions.
Yes.
Questions as well.
Another thing too, we are now on podcasts as well.
Yes.
This week we are working to be able to have it on iTunes, so it will be available on iTunes, the podcast iTunes, on Thursday. And also, you can go to our Facebook page. If If you want to listen through Podbean as well, that's fine. But if you want to look us up on iTunes,
Right.
go ahead, leave us a rating.
Yeah, we'll let you know when the iTunes is set up, right?
Yeah, it should be Thursday. It'll be
Oh,
Thursday.
Thursday. Okay.
Thursday, you can check us out on iTunes. So yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Excellent. So that's a wrap, man. So guys, don't forget, truth is too important to give up on. And until next time, we'll see you guys.
Later.